Ever wondered how different components in your computer communicate with each other? That's where bus interface logic comes into play. This term refers to the circuitry and logic components that facilitate communication between different subsystems, modules, or devices within a computer system. At the heart of this communication system lies the bus, a pathway allowing the transfer of data, addresses, and control signals between various components. In this video, we will uncover the key aspects of bus interface logic. We'll delve into the architecture of the bus, the roles of bus master and slave, the intricacies of bus arbitration and protocols, the importance of handshaking signals and the bus interface unit, the functions of bus bridges, standards, multiplexing and demultiplexing, and last but not least, bus error handling. So buckle up as we dive into the fascinating world of bus interface logic. Now, let's start with the basics. The bus architecture. The bus architecture can be seen as the lifeblood of a computer system, facilitating the smooth flow of data, control signals and addresses from one component to another. It's structured around three key types of buses: the address bus, the data bus, and the control bus. First up, the address bus. This is like the GPS of the computer system. It carries addresses from the source to the destination, indicating exactly where in the system's memory or which device is being accessed. Think of it as a courier service, delivering parcels of information to the correct addresses. Next, we have the data bus. This is the highway on which data travels back and forth between the source and destination. The width of the data bus is crucial, as it determines the number of bits that can be transferred in parallel. So, a wider highway allows for more lanes of traffic and therefore faster data transfer. Finally, there's the control bus. This one's the traffic controller, coordinating the flow of information and maintaining order. It carries control signals such as read-write commands, interrupt requests, and other signals that govern the operation of the bus. It's like the conductor of an orchestra, ensuring every component plays its part at the right time. These three buses work in harmony, creating a symphony of data flow that allows your computer to function as it should. The address bus directs where data should go, the data bus carries the data, and the control bus controls how and when the data is transferred. Now, while this might seem a bit complex, it's important to remember that each bus has a specific role, and by understanding these roles, we can better appreciate the intricate dance of data transfer occurring every second within our computers. In essence, these three types of buses make the heart of any computer system. But how do these components know when to act? This is where the bus master and slave come in. The bus master is the device that initiates and controls the data transfer on the bus. It's like the conductor of an orchestra, determining when and how the music, or in this case data, flows. The bus master can even request control of the bus, much like a conductor can command the attention of an orchestra. On the other hand, we have the bus slaves, the devices that respond to the commands and requests of the bus master. They're like the orchestra's musicians, performing actions based on the conductor's instructions. They don't initiate the music, but they play vital roles in the symphony of data transfer. These roles are key to maintaining a smooth flow of data within the system. Without the bus master and slaves, our digital orchestra would descend into chaos. But what happens when multiple devices want to communicate at the same time? Enter bus arbitration and protocols. Imagine a bustling city intersection without traffic lights or a crossing guard. Chaos, right? That's exactly what it would be like inside a computer system if we didn't have something called bus arbitration. Bus arbitration logic is the unsung hero that maintains order when multiple devices clamor to control the bus simultaneously. It's like the traffic cop of data traffic, making sure that each device gets its turn without collisions. The arbitration process employs a priority scheme, which is somewhat like a pecking order. Devices are assigned priority levels, and those with higher priority get first dibs on the bus. This ensures that crucial components aren't left waiting while less important ones hog the bus. But there's more to the story. Once a device has control of the bus, it needs to communicate effectively with other devices. This is where bus protocols come in. Bus protocols are like the languages that devices use to talk to each other. There are two main types of bus protocols: synchronous and asynchronous. A synchronous bus operates with a clock signal. Think of it like a conductor leading an orchestra. The clock signal ensures that all devices are in sync, and data transfers happen rhythmically, just like music. On the other hand, an asynchronous bus doesn't rely on a shared clock. Instead, it uses handshaking signals to coordinate data transfers. It's a bit like a diplomatic negotiation, where each side waits for the other to acknowledge its message before proceeding. In essence, bus arbitration and protocols are the essential mechanisms that keep the wheels of a computer system turning smoothly. They prevent data traffic jams and ensure that each device can express itself in a language that others understand. From a humble mouse to a high-powered graphics card, each component gets its chance to shine. These elements ensure orderly and efficient communication within the system. Now, let's talk about the signals that make all this communication possible. Handshaking signals. These signals are the heartbeat of any bus interface logic operation. They're like a silent conversation between devices, ensuring they're on the same page before any data is transferred. There are several types of handshaking signals, but let's focus on the three main ones. First, we have the read-write signals. These are the signals that declare whether a read or write operation is being performed. Imagine you're at a library and you want to either borrow a book, read operation, or return one, write operation. The read-write signals are like the librarian who checks what operation you're performing. Next up are the acknowledge signals. Once data has been successfully transferred, these signals act as a receipt, confirming that the operation has been completed. It's like when you get a notification on your phone that a message has been delivered and read. Lastly, we have the error signals. No system is perfect, and sometimes things go wrong. Error signals are the system's way of raising a red flag when an error occurs during data transfer. It's like a fire alarm, alerting everyone that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. Now let's move on to the bus interface unit, or BIU. This is the component that manages the communication between the CPU and the system bus. It's like a traffic cop, directing the flow of data and ensuring everything runs smoothly. There are two main types of BIU, the processor BIU and the memory BIU. The processor BIU is responsible for managing data transfers between the CPU and the system bus. On the other hand, the memory BIU handles data transfers between the CPU and the memory. It's like having two traffic cops, each responsible for managing a different section of the road. These are the building blocks that enable efficient communication between the CPU and the system bus. They ensure that all data transfers are coordinated and that any errors are quickly identified and addressed. As we wrap up, let's touch on some additional key aspects of bus interface logic. Firstly, bus bridges. These are essentially interfacing devices that connect multiple buses or bus segments. They enable communication between different parts of a system. Bus decoding, a part of this process, determines the destination of signals on a bus and activates the corresponding device. Next, we have bus standards. These are industry standards like PCI, PCIe, ISA, and others. These standards ensure that different components can communicate effectively. Plus, most bus interface logic supports multiple standards to ensure backward compatibility with older devices. This means your new device can still communicate with your old one. Moving on to multiplexing and demultiplexing. Multiplexing is a process that combines multiple signals into a single channel for transmission. Imagine it like merging several streams into one river. On the other side, we have demultiplexing, which does just the opposite. It separates signals from a single channel back into individual signals, like splitting that river back into its original streams. Lastly, let's touch on error handling. In any system, errors are bound to occur. But what's important is how we handle them. Bus interface logic includes mechanisms for detecting errors such as parity errors or bus contention. When these errors occur, the logic has methods to handle them, like retrying the operation or alerting the system to the error. In a nutshell, bus bridges facilitate communication between different parts of a system. Bus standards ensure uniformity and compatibility. Multiplexing and demultiplexing efficiently manage signal transmission. And error handling ensures the integrity and reliability of data transfer. These components and mechanisms further enhance the performance and reliability of computer systems. And that's a wrap on bus interface logic. We've journeyed through the intricate pathways of bus architecture, the command dynamics of bus master and slave, the critical protocols and arbitration rules that govern bus operations. We've also explored handshaking signals, the role of the bus interface unit, bus bridges, standards, multiplexing, demultiplexing, and the importance of error handling. Next time you use your computer, remember the complex logic at play behind the scenes, making it all possible.